This is easily one of Apple's. The Apple Vision Pro is Apple's long awaited dream. Come on, guys, today we're talking about the Apple Vision Pro.
Vision Pro.
So the Apple Vision Pro came out about a week ago, and I've been vocal on the fact that I did not buy it, but I still want to talk about it, try it out, and give this channel and this audience my thoughts on it. So I scheduled a 30-minute demo at Apple to give it a try out and give it my thoughts. And you know I've been absolutely obsessed with this, the hardware, the software, the technology of this thing, and I'm excited to try it out.
Anything test on me say instant debt. Anything test on me say instant debt. Anything test on me say instant debt. Anything test on me anything test on me anything test on me say instant debt. Anything test on me say instant debt. Anything test on me say instant debt.
All right, so the first thing is filming in public will never get old. It is so awkward, it is so weird, but you gotta do what you gotta do to get the shot, get the content. But I'm obsessed with the Apple Vision Pro. 30 minutes with it in the Apple Store. From putting it on to taking it off, it's like you're immersing yourself in a different universe, and it's like mind-blowing. I have so many thoughts, I have so many things I want to say, but that's why I tried it on. That's why I went through a trial, a demo with it to talk about it. So let's head home, let's get to the studio, and let's talk about some stuff.
Anything test on me say instant debt. Anything test on me say instant debt. Anything test on me say instant debt. Anything test on me say.
So I wanted to take about 2 days to really think about and gather my notes for what my ultimate thoughts were after trying the Apple Vision Pro at the Apple Store. All right, so a little bit of a disclaimer. Videos do not do this experience justice. I recommend that after you watch this video, you go to your local Apple Store and get a demo. You find a friend that has an Apple Vision Pro and you try it out and really experience what the whole thing is about, because ultimately a video on screen, a photo on screen, whatever it is you're trying to emulate through video is not going to do justice what this actual experience is. And I want to talk through kind of the walkthrough and the setup and all of those things the second you get in there. I had an employee scan my QR code, and from there I went and sat down. I did a scan test, the exact same one that you do online if you were to buy it. And then they bring you out an Apple Vision Pro that is set to fit your face. And they bring it out on like a platter, and it's a real nice presentation. And then from there you set up, put it on your eyes, and from there it has some dots, and you move your eyes to where the dots are and it calibrates your eyes. And then from there they go into the tutorial. And for me, it was more so I wanted to figure out how this thing works and use it on my own. But with it being a demo, with it being a guided demo from an Apple employee, I had to go through what each thing does and take it slow, just for respect of the fact that I was still doing a demo. But the experience was great. I went through the whole demo. I got some specialties. I worked through pictures, worked through video, some panoramics. They had a special Apple video that I've never seen before that kind of shows how the 3D video works, and it's something specific to the demo. And then after there, I had about 15 minutes of my demo left just to play with it and look around and just try things out, and that's where I had a lot of the fun. So my initial thoughts right away was, as I was driving home, I was sort of underwhelmed with the whole thing. After you get past how great this technology is, how advanced it is, and just the wow factor of it, it became a little underwhelming. Now, when I say underwhelming, it wasn't that the tech was underwhelming. It was underwhelming from a sense of, after you get through the wow factor, what's next? That was kind of the point that was a little underwhelming to me. You saw all the reviews on YouTube, and I watched a lot of videos. Everyone had kind of the same reaction, but to actually live it and try it out, it was a little bit underwhelming of an experience. But then again, I come back to the fact that maybe it wasn't underwhelming because I was doing what I was supposed to do at the Apple Store, and I wasn't able to kind of move it into the realm of what my creative process is, what my productivity processes are, and use it for myself for an entire day. So that could have been it too, but that was kind of my initial thoughts after leaving the Apple Store. But as we jump over the technology and that wow factor, the technology is wild. I was like in shock, and you can see it in some of the B-roll of just like the face motions I was making and just how in shock I was with the ultimate experience of VR, AR, and the spatial computing that the Apple Vision Pro had to offer. It was truly a mind mind-blowing experience the second you put it on for the first time. The way I word it, and the way I've worded to people when they ask how it went, was this is tomorrow's technology. Casey Neistat said it best in his review that we put this on and it's just a glimpse into the future. It's a glimpse of what the possibilities are in tomorrow's technology. And this will be the worst Apple Vision Pro that ever comes out, and it's just gonna get better from here, which is a scary thought with how advanced the technology already is for a version 1 of a device. I want to jump into the software of it, I want to jump into the hardware of it, and then finally I want to jump into kind of the state of the Apple Vision Pro and where it is now and where it's gonna go. So when we jump into software, the first thing you notice is the eye tracking. And the eye tracking was like 98% accurate. I want to say 100%, but I'll never give anything 100%. The eye tracking was wild. How easy it was to track things with your eyes and how it actually worked. And it was like, it's to a point of like mind blowing, and you have to think about how it works until you can kind of accept that it works and just get on with doing things that you would normally do. Eye fatigue was a real thing. When I took it off, it wasn't so much me thinking how heavy this device is or I have a headache or something. It was more so this eye strain I had. I had this eye strain from just moving my eyes around to see whatever I wanted. And then it made me think, when I'm editing, when I'm on a computer, when I'm on an iPad, whatever I'm doing, I'm always multitasking. I'm always maybe typing and looking something in the corner or whatever. And it made me think that with the Apple Vision Pro, if I'm using it for kind of what I use a laptop for, multitasking isn't something you can do because you strictly have to focus your eyes on what you want to be doing in that time and moment. I think for me, the biggest learning curve was the hand gestures. The biggest learning curve for me, and the actual part of the demo that I took in and actually had to listen to do it right. And it's the pinching, it's the swiping like this, it's the moving stuff in special places. You get used to it, but it is a steep learning curve to get used to. And once you get the hang of it, it works. But there was a lot of times my finger was either out like down here and not in the way of the camera, so I'd have to do it twice. And just by nature, you're gonna bring it up here when you could be bringing it down here. But that just takes getting used to. That takes repetitions and all of those things. And then back to the keyboard, it was not that great of an experience. And I think that's something that could have been better thought out before this came out, is how we can use a keyboard that works a little bit better with this. Because at the end of the day, you're paying $3,500 plus. You're gonna wanna be able to accurately type on this thing as you would on a keyboard or an iPad. So it did take some getting used to. It might work over time, but right away, I just was not impressed with the whole typing experience. And then the 3D tracking of this. The first time you hit the digital crown and you see the home screen pop up, it's mind-blowing how accurate the 3D tracking is. And if you've ever done 3D tracking like in Resolve or After Effects or something, you know how difficult it is and how easy it is for an object to fall off a plane. And the fact that this has real-time rendering and it is locking on to where it's locking on at the accuracy it is absolutely mind-blowing. And it's not just the home screen. I mean, pages were locking, everything was locking. When you turned your head, everything was locked in specific places and it was staying there. And there was like zero to little movement. And that is wild. For me, the next thing I want to talk about is the pass-through. And the pass-through was extremely good. It wasn't, as a lot of YouTubers said, it wasn't to the fact of like, sometimes you forgot you were wearing a headset. I always knew that I had a headset on, but there was times I forgot that I was in an Apple store with a headset on. The pass-through is really good, but what I noticed was when you start to put your hands in front of it, when you start to look into darker directions, you start to see the grain. You start to see the fact that this isn't real AR, it is cameras creating VR. And that's something that I started to notice after time. But I did still notice that I was in a headset, which is ultimately something that I kind of got the impression from all the reviews I watched wasn't a thing. So the last thing I want to touch on in the softwares are the atmospheres. When you turn the scroll wheel on the headset and your opacity goes from like 0 to 100 into an atmosphere, you really notice how you're immersed into a different place. And it was really cool. I had some rocky terrain where you see it and you're like, great, and then you look around and you're like, oh my, and then you look down, you see the texture of the rocks. I think this is a good starting point for Apple. I think in the future they're going to build these into more like the Apple TV, like moving atmospheres, and you're going to move with the atmosphere and it's going to be real interactive that way. So it's really exciting to see the possibilities of where this is going to go. But it was a fun thing to see, and it was so cool that you're able to just go there. And that's ultimately one of the selling points when you put it on your face and you show someone that. That was one of my biggest wow factors. All right, let's talk hardware. Out of all the VR headsets out there, Apple doesn't like to call it VR or AR, they like to call it spatial computing. This is by far the most beautiful one. From the strap on the back to the full glass screen, it is a beautiful device and it's cool to look at. Does it look weird on your face? Yeah, I'll pop a picture of me up. It looks extremely weird on face. Looks like you're wearing ski goggles. But that's the day and age we're in. We're in the day and age where these are gonna be big devices, and this isn't the end product, the end goal. Like, these are gonna get smaller over time and look more like something that can be a styled piece and you can wear with your everyday clothing or something. And then the ultimate question, does it feel like $3,500? I mean, $3,500 is a lot of money, but if you need to justify it compared to everything else, yeah, it does feel like $3,500 because you are holding a premium product with a lot of cameras and a lot of technology in it. I mean, you think about it, this thing has the same chip as a Mac. So the screen's the scariest part. When I look at the screen, all I see is a round piece of glass that can easily scratch and easily fall, and it scares me because it does not look like a cheap piece of glass to get fixed. Think they could have gone away from the glass. I understand that you have the colors going, you have the eye pass through, which is not the most beautiful thing. You can watch a bunch of other videos and examples of the eye thing. It's not exactly what Apple showed in their keynote of what was coming out, but I think they could have gone away from it and done something different to the front screen and ultimately made it somewhat lighter in the face. But that could be for the Apple Vision down the road, and this could be what the Pro version has. The spatial sound was real cool, especially when I went into the Apple TV app and I had to click on the second thing, which was like this immersive example of 3D video, 3D photos, like watching a band play. And as like a shark came at me, and when you hear the spatial audio and you hear it coming at you from all different angles, you really notice how powerful it is. And I think that's something that was slept on before this thing even came out, was that the spatial audio is this good. There was times where I was like sitting back in my chair and like just taking it in. There was times I was jumping. It was like, it felt almost scary to the point where like I felt uncomfortable, like I had to take it off. Between the 3D video and then the audio sensory of that, looking like stuff is coming at you, it was almost a little too much where I had to take it off. And that's where it gets really interesting with like taking a 3D video with it and like home movies and stuff and just building memories throughout time. I think that's something that is going to get real special with this, but it was almost too real, which really scared me. There was one moment where there was someone rock climbing and I was like looking at them from the mountain with them, and I felt like I was there, and it like screwed my mind up. Everyone in all the reviews talks about how heavy it is. Yeah, it's heavy. I mean, what do you expect? You're not putting on a pair of glasses. It's a heavy device. It's a lot of glass. It's a lot of premium material. It's gonna be heavy, but that's what you get. That's what you get. It only lasts 2 hours on battery, so you're gonna have to take a break with it anyway. I feel like this is a thing where you don't just put it on and find something to do. You have a reason for putting it on and doing something in it, so you know you're kind of setting yourself up to do something while you put it on, so you kind of have to mitigate what the weight is of it. But over time, like I said, it's going to get smaller. This is the worst Apple Vision Pro that will ever come out, and it's going to get smaller and better over time. The battery concept is pretty dumb, that you have to have a battery that isn't even strapped onto the thing to make counterweight. The fact that you have to have it in your pocket wired in. But then at the end of the day, like I keep saying, this is the worst one and they're just figuring it out. But I try to think about like walking somewhere with this thing plugged in. It's kind of like, nah. But then you think about it on the other end and it's like, if I was at the laptop, would I have my laptop plugged in? Possibly. You kind of wish this thing had like a charge to it. But again, down the road, it's something it can have. So I was a little disappointed of the whole battery concept. And the battery was kind of big. And to have that and your iPhone in your pocket, it's a little much. My thoughts on the state of this device, I think the device is really cool. It was really mind-blowing. It was a really fun experience. The more and more I get past not using it for a few days for my initial trial, the more and more I want to play with it and I want to try it and I want to test it out. But I just can't justify $3,500 for this thing. This is the future. When you put it on and you take a glimpse of all of these little things that Apple has to offer with the features in them, you think of how third-party developers are going to create apps in here that are just like the Apple apps and have kind of the evolution the iPhone had, the evolution the iPad had. And soon this will be a household thing. And I'm excited for that. I'm excited for being able to create inside of this thing. I'm excited for what the future holds for this device and kind of this product line within Apple. Like, it's a really cool concept. And the more and more days go past, the more and more I want to get my hands on one. The worst part was when I finished the demo, I took it off, and you can see kind of my reaction when I took it off, like I was entering back into real life. The guy I had the demo with told me there was one in stock, and that was the worst thing I could even hear, because I thought about it, and that's how they get you. They want you to try it, they want you to experience it, and they want you to take it home with you. And ultimately, it kind of did it to me, and it's a cool device. The things they let you do at Apple to experience everything, and you want to grasp being able to do more, and you know it doesn't offer more yet, but it will. And that was like the underwhelming part of it. But at the end of the day, I want to go try this thing again. I want to play with this thing again. I want to own one of these things. I want to create in one of these things. But with that, make sure you hit the like button, hit that subscribe button. This isn't a review of me owning the Apple Vision Pro. This is a review of me trying it out and giving my thoughts on it, so I'm not speaking off of no experience. I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.